Greetings and salutations, my fellow Illumineers. It is me, your boy JDZ, and I am back at you again with another stream. It has returned finally after months and months of waiting. The LCCC is back, and it is better than ever. But I am not alone to bring you guys this round number one. I have a good friend of mine, Mr. Adrian, aka Create, is in the building, and we're going to bring you guys this game today. Adrian, how you feeling this morning?
I'm feeling super good, excited to cast again, be here with you. The third season of the LCCC, and what a crazy way to start it off with two DLC champions, Ed versus Minato. JDC, what are your thoughts on this crazy game that's going to go down?
Man, I'm super excited for it. I love the LCCC because we get to see the best players playing at their absolute pinnacle capability. Like you said, we have two phenomenal players, but the players are ready. So really quick, we're just going to kind of get to know these Illuminaries super fast. And first player we're going to talk about is going to be Minato here. Minato is going to be the DLC Bologna winner, coming in from France, representing the EU side in this tournament today. I think France has one of the most premier Disney Lorcana scenes on the planet. I think they have some of the greatest players there, and he is one of the best players there.
And this new set 10 format, AmSt got a lot of new tools, so I wouldn't doubt if he's using some sort of AmSt deck.
All right, speaking of that, we have his deck list here, so we can go ahead and talk about the deck list that he is playing. Is going to be none other than Amethyst and Steel. Is one of those decks that I think is going to be one of the best decks in the game, and he's playing it in a quite unique fashion as well. He's got the Mayor Wind Dancer is in the deck. He's also playing the tech of one of Goliath is in the strategy, and he's got, everything else seems pretty standard. I think this deck is one of the best decks in the game. It's quite consistent, and people will tend to favor consistency over some of the all-powerful top end speed. So tell me what you think about this deck, and if that is something that you've discovered in your own testing and experience.
Yeah, I think this deck is pretty spicy, especially seeing the Wind Dancer. It is uninkable, but that stat line being 5/7, you're pretty much able to contest anything in the game right now. I know in Sapphire Steel, some players are starting to use it just because of how powerful it is. You can only pretty much remove it with the Hades or something like that. So it's actually surprising to see him use it in Amethyst Steel. And what I also like about this deck is that he's also running the 4 copies of Demona. And like I know a lot of Amethyst Steel players are using more of like the dog, and they think Demona is bad just because you're able to refill your opponent's hand. But I do like that he just likes to empty out his hand, refill his hand, and try to punish his opponent with opposing Hades and those Wind Dancers as well.
I like that. Less on the uninkable on the lower end of the curve, making the deck a little bit higher to the curve. I think that's a pretty decent way to play this deck. But he is going to have an uphill battle to climb because he is facing off against the DLC champion, a North American Continental Champion, and World's finalist, 8-time set champion winner as well, Mr. Ed Chiu, one of the best players we have in the game. Super, extremely consistent player, makes extremely consistent decks. Tell me something about this Lumineer that you kind of know of. I know you may have crossed paths with this Lumineer a few times.
Oh man, Ed is definitely one of the best players in the game right now. Having not won DLC Fort Worth, but also being able to take down the NA Continentals. I actually faced Ed against Ed round 2 at Continentals. I was on my Sapphire Steel, he was on his Ruby Amethyst, and he did take me down 2-0. It was a crazy game. And yeah, Ed is just one of the best players in the game just because of how he deck builds. I think that's what really makes him stand out. For that tournament specifically at Continentals, he was on 4 Lady Tremaines, able to counter the Ruby Sapphire meta. So Ed definitely is a very good deck builder and able to analyze the meta and punish his opponent with his good deck building skills.
Absolutely. And speaking of that deck building skills, one of the philosophy that Ed Chiu does use more often than not, he goes with a 4x4 strategy, and there's nothing changing here. Ed is electing to play with the green-blue strategy, another deck that I believe is very, very high on the tier list of most powerful decks in the game right now. And he's elected to bring that deck in a typical Ed Chiu fashion with 4/4/4s across the board. You're maximizing all the Clarabelles. You got the big Clarabelle, you have the Hades, you have the Prince Philip, you have to develop your brand. It just seems extremely consistent. And he's also using the Mother Knows Best while keeping your inkability rather still in a manageable range with only, I believe you're only playing 8 uninkable cards in this deck. So it seems extremely consistent. It seems like you're going to get a chance to do exactly what you built the deck to do more often than not. What do you think about this deck overall, and what do you think about the way that Ed put it together?
Yeah, I'm not surprised that Ed's using Sapphire Emerald right now, just because I have heard players say how right now it feels like Ruby Sapphire. You have all these different type of forms of removal cards, and I think it's so crazy to be able to try as an opponent play around not only Clarabelle, but now you also have this Prince Philip combo. It's basically a one-sided be prepared. It's just so advantageous for you to use it. And then not only that, but you have to play around two bounce cards, which is 4 copies of the Basil and 4 copies of Hades. So this deck is just super explosive, has so many ways to answer removal. But there is one thing I do notice though, as he's not playing any copies of Spooky Sight. I don't know what your thoughts are on that card, and if maybe he's not just respecting the aggro matchup.
Yeah, maybe he feels that his Prince Philip Malicious Mean and Scary combo is enough to keep that stuff off. He's also
Mhm.
not playing a card that a lot of people are really, really big fans of in this set, and that Cinderella Dreams Come True. I think that card is a slam dunk, but Ed's like, hey, it's not good enough. It's uninkable, and it just
Mhm.
doesn't have that
Oh
top
wow.
end speed that we need to get things done. So maybe you can't play Cinderella. You also can't play Malicious Mean, or you can't play Spooky Sight because your uninkables just become out of control. You have no way to offload that thing in your bad matchups. So I trust Ed a lot. I trust his deck building skills, and when he analyzes cards, he's probably going to put the best possible cards in his deck at the correct time, man. So I think it's going to be an absolute knockdown, drag out show, and we're going to get this thing done. But before we hop on into the match, I want to thank you guys all for being here. If you can, make sure you share the stream and let them know what's cooking out here in TV land. But really quickly before we start, I kind of wanted to bring this up to kind of talk about what the LCCC is. For those who may not know, the LCCC is an exhibition, community led tournament. Shout out to Pavel, shout out to Pixelborn Connect, shout out to everybody who has supported the LCCC. It is you just grab some of the best players in the game and put them into a tournament and have them play. You try to prioritize North America versus Europe in this situation, and I think it's always a lot of fun. It's very competitive, and it's a great way to learn about this game. So for this particular tournament, there's going to be 4 rounds of Swiss, followed by a top four. All the games are best of 3. The winner will receive the prestigious title of LCCC champion, and then you will also have $5,000 to donate to your charity of choice. So you're playing great games, but also for a great cause. And shout out to our judges, but the head judge for this tournament will be Ellie in the building, holding it down. So it's going to be an absolute wonderful event. I'm so excited. I've been up all night just thinking about the LCCC. I'm glad that it's going to be here. So the players, I believe, are ready, but I believe we might be experiencing some technical issues. I don't see the cameras in the Discord. So
I think it's definitely a interesting meta call deck tech choice to not want to run uninkables. I think being able to run 8 uninkables is super consistent, and I do understand why you wouldn't want to play Cinderella, just because in the mid and the late game, having these Cinderellas in your hand, you could clog them, and it just kind of makes your lines of play really really awkward.
yeah, it does. I get what you're saying, and it does. When you play that Cinderella on 4, it's probably one of the best, or on your 4 ink turn, it's probably one of the best things that you can possibly be doing in the game. But anything beyond that, it seems like a bit of a liability sometimes. So
Mhm.
I can see the vision and why Ed would elect to leave a card like that out. Thank you guys all for being here. But here are the deck lists, and we can kind of have our own little fun part where you guys can see the decks, and then you can make your choices. Who do you think is going to win and why? I'm looking at these decks. I like the Amethyst Steel deck. I think it has the consistency, but just that low end. I think if you want to have a great matchup against the Amethyst and Sapphire strategy, you're going to need to have those 2 questers. I like the build with the Timothy Q Mouse and the Tinkerbells, and I think you're trying to go too mid range. So I think that the Emerald and Sapphire deck might have the bit of a leg up. What do you think, Rip, in this matchup?
Yeah, I think the number one thing you have to prioritize when you're going against Emerald Sapphire is being able to remove their singers. And I do like that Minato is choosing to run 3 copies of the new Heat Hurl his Thunderbolt. I know a lot of Amethyst Steel decks aren't running this card, or maybe only running 1 copy. So you have to play around 7 forms of removal that he could curve out and activate, on turn 3, on turn 4. He's not playing any Peats though, and he is using this nice evasive Cheshire package. But I don't think the Cheshire Cat's going to do too much in this matchup, since usually Ed, I think for the most part, is going to have his character just standing for the for like for the most part of the game until he sets up the Prince Philip combo.
Okay. I mean, and again, it might just be some type of play draw dependency there. There could
Mhm.
be what cards you draw in the order in which they come. So it's going to be the game. There will be some gamesmanship that has to happen. I know both of these players are incredible players, so I'm expecting to see a great matchup either way. But I think the slightest of margins I'm hedging for the Emerald and Sapphire strategy to come out on top. But maybe I am a bit biased. I am rooting for the home team. I am North American. That's where I'm based. And I feel like, and Rip, you may disagree with me, I feel like Europe is just pulling ahead in terms of
Mhm.
in terms of prestige, in terms of player quality. I just think Europe is doing it better right now, and I think the North America, and I'm speaking as an American, I think we have a lot of catching up to do. Granted, we do have Ed, who's one of our best players, but I think that they're just based on what I've seen in tournament reports, I mean, granted, the world champion is European.
Mhm.
Both the
True.
DLC champions this year are both European. Like,
True.
it's they have 900-person CCQs while we're scrapping together to get 100. So they're just showing out. Europe is just doing Lorcana much better. So I think as a North American, I think we need to lock in. Granted, we do have 2 LCCC victories already, so I'll give us
Mhm.
that. But I just think Europe is just kind of cleaning our clocks right now, and I think we got to lock back in and get active and try to balance the scales a little bit.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think EU has a lot more competitive tournaments, a lot more ways to get these big events going on. So I do think that the practice over there is a little bit better. It's a little bit more consistent. And if you notice, they like these two regions do have two different metas. To be honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
this past weekend, Dogs took the TCQ in Europe, and over here in the States, I feel like it's always like more control decks, more Amethyst decks, but
Right.
hey, EU seems to be a fan of aggro decks.
Yeah, and it's so funny how those things happen, man. So,
Hmm.
and also just looking at the way that the ticket sales went for Ghent, I was like, man, there's no chance we're going to sell
Hmm.
out a 4,000 person tournament. But Europe came through
It sold
again.
out. Yep.
They sold out, and it sold out so fast too. Create, man. So I was just like, dang, they really are hungry for some Lorcana over there. They're really representing their region well. And then you got France. Minato's representing the country of France. They have one of the strongest circuits of players on the planet, and I think that they just have something going on over there. So maybe we can catch up. I don't think it's too late. I think we have the tools, we have the players, we have the technology. We can get out there and set the record straight. But right now, I think Europe is clearing, and we need to use this as an event to kind of even those odds out a little bit.
Yeah, so I think the problem that Minato might have, depending who's going first, is he's not really putting any pressure on his early bodies. He doesn't really have any early two questers other than the Tinkerbell. And other than that, everything is pretty much more like mid-rangey. Like this deck favors more the Mirror Match, Amber Steel, Lord to the Ground decks. He doesn't really start getting to his two questers other than the Genie and that Tinkerbell. And he's gonna have to basically go control strategy versus control strategy. And Emerald Sapphire, for the most part, in this matchup, just does the control part more better. So he's gonna have to set up these evasive characters and try to set up his singers to remove again Ed's singers. So if he's going first, Minato going first, he definitely has a good chance just to be able to react first to Ed's board. But if Ed's on the play, it's going to be pretty tricky to have to play around Clarabelle and also that Prince Philip Shift 5 combo. Super crazy how this Emerald Sapphire deck is built. And I think the other thing to notice too is the reason why Amethyst Steel right now is very powerful is because of the new legendary Hades. You're able to play this card and put your opponent in an awkward spot, right? Do you force them to either make them remove their character on the board and lose tempo, or do they reward you and you get to draw two cards? So I think this Hades in this matchup is going to be interesting. It's definitely going to be one of the removal tools that's going to make things awkward for Ed to have to answer to.
All right, but we're going to find out right now, Rip, because I believe the game board should be up and active, and the Illumineers at home should be able to see what is happening. And the judges, let me hit the judges up one more time, and it is time to play. If you
All
guys
right.
are ready,
Ready.
I'm ready, you're ready. Let's get loose. Let's get active. The LCCC round one begins now. You have Minato representing EU on your right, Ed representing the North America on your left. Keep in mind, the player's hand cams will be below the screen, so you cannot see what their hands are. But I'm gonna have to fix Monato's screen a little bit because it seemed like they have it in. No, so their hand cams are going to be the area below the screen. We can see them at home, but everyone else would not be able to see the information there.
Mhm. Yeah, it's gonna be super awesome to see how Pixelborn has this feature where we can see their hands, and it's really nice for the viewers back home to see when the players take time on their turns because of how many different lines of play that they can use. All these different new cards that came out in set 10, so lots of whole new different combos and strategies in
Yeah.
this format. How are you enjoying the format so far,
I'm
JDZ?
at Rip. I mean, we met literally last this weekend.
This
We were
past
down
weekend,
in
yep.
Dallas. Yeah, we were there. Shout out to you for getting your top 8 placement
Thank
and
you, thank you.
having some great a great performance there. But I'm loving it, man. I'm so revitalized. I'm so refreshed with what I'm
Mhm.
seeing with this meta. I believe there are so many different decks that are tournament viable and playable, and I think it's just so refreshing based on the fabled meta that we had. And I'm having a great time with this meta. How about you? I know you're still Sapphire, still gaming, but are you having a good time with it?
Yeah, I'm having a good time. Definitely having a better time than last set. It just feels like although we do have this Prince Philip combo now in the meta, you can still play around it. It's way easier to play around than I feel like a deck like Blurple last format. I feel like right now a lot of decks have legs. We're seeing dogs have two different variations now, builds with the Circle of Life and then the aggro. You have Amethyst Ruby making a comeback, Sapphire Steel, just a lot of different decks in the meta compared to last set where I felt like Blurple was just super dominant, and it also feels like Amber Steel has slowly. I'm not even sure where Amber Steel is at. Have
Yeah.
you seen like Amber Steel anywhere in the meta?
I haven't seen it. I believe there is a deck that might exist more like
Hmm.
a mid range, going back to his roots, singing songs and having getting the most use out of that Ariel, the new Whisper Ariel. I think she's a great card that people just aren't really looking into because Amber
Oh
still
yeah.
hasn't. I think it needs to get out of the aggro role and get back into its more traditional. Let's get back into its more traditional mid range role. I think that's where that deck needs to end up. As we're just having some issues, no worries. Ed's camera is in full revolt as we see the hand. We're looking. Oh my goodness. Okay.
Yeah, it's always that first round of the LCCC technical difficulties curse that seems to always go down.
It happens. It happens. But shout out to the judge John and his PC. That bad boy is fighting with everything it's got, and I love it. As Minato wins the dice roll, elects to
Hmm.
ink Heron, and we're going to lead Diablo here. The LCCC is underway, and I am super here for it. So hopefully you guys are just excited as all of us here watching this. As Ed's camera is also super. That thing is focusing, man. Let's turn that autofocus off if we can to
It's
help.
bugging out.
I love it. As we got Tipo going down to the inkwell, and we're going to take a turn 1, develop your brain. Ed already has that turn 2 ramp, and it seems like your line is starting to develop itself. You got the
Yeah,
Prince Philip.
Minato. Yeah, Minato is going on the play, so that's definitely what he needed for this matchup. But you do see here for his turn two, he is going to be able to play that Black Heron, but he's going to be questing out pretty slow. So it looks like Ed, like having that ramp, is going to be able to capitalize off Minato having a slow start, even though he is on the play.
And it looks like Minato is trying to set up that 1, 2, 3, maybe seeing strength. He really doesn't know the composition of Ed's deck, so maybe you're thinking that you can hit a potential hit their 4 cost, maybe hit that Donald Duck or hit a Cinderella if you think that's going to be
Hmm.
there, or whatever that 4 cost play is. If you can keep establish your characters, get that 3 cost down, your curve is pretty much perfect right now, as long as you continue to draw inkable cards. As now Ed recognizing the situation, we're having a attempt to reconnect here. No big deal.
Small setback, small setback.
Minor setback. Okay. While we're setting that up, I'll just kick it back on over. Maybe the players are paused. No, they're still playing. And it looks like we go
We're
for
back.
the
There you go.
we go for the sail the Azurite Sea into a Clarabelle now as they as they're using that remaining ink. Hopefully that Clarabelle can survive so you can set up that shift.
Yeah, JDZ, if we look at Ed's hand here, it's pretty crazy. He's going to be able to either set up that Donald the following turn and then have that You're Welcome combo. And pretty much Minato is going to have to set up that Strength of the Raging Fire, which he's going to try to do. So we'll see here if Ed challenges back, but probably not. So that's going to be some free lore that Minato can get on his turn.
And that's some good recognizability too from Minato. I think
Hmm.
a lot of players sometimes they'll just be hesitant with their characters, electing not to quest in certain situations, thinking that they might get plus back over, but
Hmm.
realizing like, hey, there's no chance Ed's ever going to challenge here until he clears my board or quests or exerts his characters in any way. So I'm just going to take up this lore while I can, as we are going to get into that Cheshire Cat. Maybe Cheshire Cat can get some value here. I love this card. This Cheshire Cat is crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely a card that rewards more challenging, but I think in this matchup, how I mentioned earlier, it's just not going to be a card that shines in this matchup. And the genie is going to just be way more valuable because not only do you get to draw a card, but it has evasive, it quests for two, and now we can see Minato start putting more pressure on the board, and he is going to use that strength to the raging fire, going to snipe that baby Clarabelle to prevent a you're welcome shift combo, and that's definitely going to set Ed back.
Yeah, this is the absolute perfect start that
Hmm.
Minato could have ever asked for being on the play. You did everything that your deck is designed to do. You curved out perfectly, you removed the biggest threat, and now you're in a pretty comfortable position questing away freely, getting all the way up to 5 right now. As now Ed needs to make something happen. You really don't want to just send this your welcome and send some characters back to Monato's deck, and also drawing yourself or drawing them some cards. So now you still want to see if you can maybe set up another Clarabelle shift, as they had one answer before.
Hmm.
Maybe they don't have it, or you can set up this Prince Philip and hope to top deck this Malicious, Mean, and Scary next turn and wipe the entire board. I think if you lose your board here, that might be the end of it for you, as you're kind of all in now at this point.
Yeah, we do see the Donald Duck shining in this matchup. It's going to be that card that makes you draw into your key pieces. It's definitely an annoying card to remove. And we do see here Ed finally deciding to, hey, I need to remove some of this lore on the board before things get out of hand. And if he does draw that Prince Philip combo, the mean, scary, malicious, it's going to be an amazing comeback that he can pull off.
I agree. I agree. So I'm just checking in some of the chat. People are saying we should slide the game board back a little bit. I can do that. Give me 1 sec. We can keep that going. We're doing this all live. Okay. This is on the fly. This is game number 1. I guarantee by game number 15 or whatever, we're going to be on our way. So thank you guys for all the feedback. Any feedback that you have, please don't hesitate to send that over to the program, and we can keep this thing working for you guys. So again, thank you all for being here. This is the LCCC round number 1, and Minato is doing what Minato wants to do, but now seeing that Prince Philip now, this is where things get scary, because that combo just makes this thing so real, and there are no answers to get through this warded Prince Philip either. Create, man. Once he's there, you just gotta deal with it. Maybe you can just play into it and hope they don't have it, which Ed literally just doesn't have it right now.
Yeah, I think that's interesting because we just talked about that. How in this past weekend I had to play around a Prince Philip combo, and I decided not to play for board. And here Minato just says, "Hey, if you have it, you have it. If not, I'm putting you on a 2 turn clock. I'm also drawing a card, putting out another evasive character. And now here, if Ed doesn't have it, which we know that he doesn't, how's he going to be able to respond to this 2 turn clock?"
Yeah, and I think you have to. You can get another card out of this Maybe we can get this
Hmm.
Clarabelle down, or we got to shift it anyway, just to get some of that lore off the board, and then take out that genie. So even if you didn't go full combo, that's still a very reasonable play to make in this situation. Getting that Prince Philip up, and now hopefully that Prince Philip for you can begin to start questing aggressively and win the game. But Minato has to be fine with that exchange. You're still pretty healthy in your hand, as Ed now has the ability to You're Welcome Clarabelle next turn anyway, and really gain some cards. This Clarabelle draws 5 or 6 cards next turn. Create. Oh my goodness, you're talking about we got a whole new game here.
Looks like there's something going on in the chat. Something about a judge. Lexington shouldn't have been able to ready. Minato had three
Oh,
cards in his hand.
oh no. That is a very, very true thing. And that is something that I have messed up so many times. Everyone's going to continue to mess that up, and I think that is something that we're going to have to add to our list of things to watch out for as players, as judges, as broadcasters, commentators, because it's just such a new thing, and we're not
Yes.
used to the Stone by Day ability, and it comes up all the time. Maybe we gotta put some kind of marker down, as that is an issue. As we are going to go for the Cheshire Cat now, just to try to get him established onto the board. You proved last turn that you didn't have it, as Minato is just doing everything they can to just reduce the size of the hand to make this potential Clarabelle that much worse.
Yeah, in set 10, there's a whole lot of new mechanics. There's a new ability about being able to ready withdraw 3 cards in your hand. We have the boost mechanic, so still a lot of new effects our players are getting used to.
Yeah, and obviously it wasn't malicious in any way. It's just one of those things that it's one of those things that just absolutely is going to happen from time to time. As we get the Clarabelle down to the Inkwell just to play another Clarabelle. Sometimes people do the Clarabelle shift Clarabelle play just to get another card out of hand, but I guess it doesn't matter. I know you need that Clarabelle to ink. You want to keep your
Hmm.
Prince Philip around, and then we will hit the You're Welcome, sending that wish fulfilled genie right on back into the deck. And I think this game is going to this now we got a whole new game. I love this. I love this format so much. I love this
Hmm.
game. This is going to be a good one now.
Yeah, we're gonna see here what Minato can do. Ed was able to survive the early onslaught of all the lore that was being threatened. He was able to get the Prince Philip off without even needing the combo, just the shift got him there. And now he got to the point where he's on the draw, but his Clarabelle was able to now refill his hand. And we're gonna see here pretty much at this point if Minato can draw the cards that he needs to be able to keep Ed off his game right now.
He's got a new card there. He's got that. He hurled his Thunderbolt. That's another new set 10 Whispers in the Well card, and it is very popular, man. What do you think about this card? Have you been playing it, and what are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think this card is pretty good. It's really interesting to see him use this card in this particular build. We'll see if in this matchup it's probably not going to be as useful, but we do see here Minato thinking of to use Thunderbolts and try to remove the singers on his board. But we do see here Ed have the combo in his hand, and
Mm-hmm.
that's just very unfortunate. Just because he's going to be able to potentially board wipe Minato's board and then refill his hand with Clarabelle.
Yeah, even if I think he has a couple characters that are 3/1s naturally. He's got
Hmm.
that new evasive Violet. Or what's her name? I think her name is Violet. I want to say I can't recall. Her name is Violet Saberwing. She's on the board, and I think she's just a naturally 3/1, along with that Mulan, who's another natural 3/1. So just the malicious, mean, and scary could just clear two characters, as we are going to ink that Pluto. The new Pluto Steel Champion is down in the Inkwell. This is another card that I think has some hidden potential that players may have to really start to look at, as Hades the Infernal Schemer is now added to the hand of Ed. Ed's getting a lot of tools here, a lot of decisions to be made in this
Hmm.
spot.
Yeah, it's gonna be removal tools versus board presence when it comes to Minato. Here, Ed's gonna decide to play a little bit slower. He doesn't have to fully commit to the Prince Philip. He's only pressuring 8 lore right now with a Mulan on the board and a character that just quests for one. And there he just removes it, both of them with that action card. It's actually, I actually forget how this card can just deal one damage to everything, like a Tinkerbell effect, and ends up removing stuff on the board with all the floating damage that could be left after challenging.
Yeah, and just like I said, those one cost characters just get hitting with a malicious, you just get them cleared anyway. And I think that out of all the things about set 10 that I love, that's one thing that I love the least. I think malicious, mean, and scary should have for sure, to your point,
Hmm.
just been a steel card and just
Yep.
inflicted direct damage instead of the place damage counter effect. And that way you don't have the Prince Philip and the malicious, mean, and scary in the same colors, and you keep that damage base removal in the steel identity. And I think the game would be a little bit better for it in that situation, because having two cards that work so great together, now you just put that in every single emerald deck, and it just kind of makes the game a little more not necessarily still, but you're going to see those combos very often, as this Hades looking for a deal is going to come out making a deal, and it's going to give you some cards probably in the face of this Clarabelle.
Yeah, we're at the point to where now Minato's emptying out his hand to get that Demona on the board. He's trying to just go wide, refill, and Ed here deciding to bounce back. I think one of his own characters.
Yeah, it looks like he's gearing up to send that Hades. No, send your Iago back to hand,
All right, there you go.
and you still have enough to go for the combo here, but you'll like to just save that full combo in hand and just get a nice quest in for two for Ed. So Ed now on the board with two lore, on his way upward, trying to turn that corner. You have to get to a spot where you can feel free and start to quest. And the issue that this deck can provide to the Amethyst and Steel player is the fact that they have a lot of characters with high willpower, and Amethyst Steel has always struggled with those high willpower characters. Granted, you have that Cheshire Cat in your deck that can kind of help. You have the Strength of Raging Fire, but you need a board for that, and the Demona can sometimes help as well. But that five and that's those two sixes you're dealing with are going to be very difficult for Minato to overcome here in this spot, especially on holding three cards.
Yeah, if you notice, Ed actually decided to sing the "You're Welcome" back to his own Hades, and then replay the Hades and remove a Iago on the board. So it feels like he might have wasted too much to remove a very very weak character, but Ed just really playing it slow here. He's deciding to see if Minato does play Demona, then Ed can just refill his hand and then punish him with the Prince Philip, and then also benefit off the Clarabelle. So Ed really in this spot kind of has all the time in the world right now.
Yeah, I missed that. I missed the fact that he's saying you're welcome with his own Hades and redeployed it there. I think that's a heads up. That is a heads up maneuver, as like you said, just trying to keep your Clarabelle getting value. You're keeping your Hades upright and active and healthy. And now here is that Demona. She is going to exert all the characters. Your Hades still might
Hmm.
be a bit too weak to engage with the Infernal Schemer. You could put 3 damage in there, but I don't know how worth it that would be, as you do have that Tinkerbell Fast Flyer. That's a card that I think we missed in the analysis there.
Yeah, I don't think he has enough strength on the board to be able to remove one of these characters. He could play the ElSa, but the ElSa and the Hades only do 5 damage, and both these characters on Ed's board have 6 willpower. We could see the Cheshire come down here and finally have some sort of relevant effect here, just because Monato's going to be forced to start challenging some characters next turn.
But now you have done it, Rip. You've played right into Ed's trap, and this board looks spicy enough to get hit with full combo, and you will not hesitate to go ahead and go malicious, mean, and scary, Prince Philip. And if it's your first time tuning in to some Disney Lorcana, that is going to be something that you're going to be dealing with every single time you play anybody playing Emerald cards. Is malicious, mean, and scary is a song that can be sang that does 1 damage to every character on your opponent's side of the board, and then Prince Philip will banish every damaged character. So they work very well together, and it is super consistent. And that is something that the game is going to have. We needed a board wipe, but not like this. Okay, not like this. As we're going to try to rebuild with these evasive characters now, and now going
Yeah,
all in.
this board wipe, although this requires some sort of setup combo, the problem is that this board wipe comes in the form of a body. It's evasive. It can quest for 3. It's just a very strong combo here. And like how
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned earlier, in any Emerald deck, you're pretty much just going to see this combo, and it just makes Emerald Amethyst, Emerald Sapphire, Emerald Amber, all these decks just super powerful because it does have this one-sided board wipe. And we do see here Ed doing the same combo that we saw earlier, singing that Mother's Knows Best, replaying the Hades, removing something on the board, and now just closing out the game with these big characters and the amount of lore he has on the board.
Yeah, questing very hard. Prince Philip questing for 3 is kind of OP.
Hmm.
They didn't have to do that. I mean, if they're going to do all this, they didn't have to go all there with it as well. As he was reprinted coming into that Fable set, and then they put the malicious, mean, and scary in, and it's really not that easy to play around. You can use cards like Pete's Games Referee. You can use things like Mowgli or Ursula Deceiver to potentially get it from their hand before they can deploy it against you. But once you can't resist, you can't ward, you can't do anything. It doesn't matter what your character's willpower is; they're just gone, and it is just a devastating blow more often than not. But Minato still fighting uphill, electing not to give up. We're just going to blast a thunderbolt here, and
Trying to
then
fight back.
ElSa exerts, and now we can go ahead and trade into that Prince Philip, who also has 6/6 in the stat line as well. I think it's Sisu. We wanted Sisu gone, but this is not better. I think this might be a bit more a bit more painful than the Sisu more often than not.
Yeah, the problem here is the Prince Philip combo is if they do get it off once, but Ed got it off twice. And at this point, what Minato needs is to be able to refill his hand, because the Sapphire Emerald player, once they get the Prince Philip combo off, they're usually out of resources. But Ed does have this Clarabelle, so even if Minato was able to refill his hand somehow, he'd just get punished for it.
Yeah, and Clarabelle just being a 5/6 quest for 2 character is just so grotesque sometimes. As the Dumbo ninth one of the universe is going to come on now, and that Flash Fire is back at it again. As you're just committed to just trying to outrace your opponent. Maybe this Dumbo can help you draw some cards in this situation, but Ed going all the way up to 6 to 19 this turn, it seems like a lot to deal with. As we're just kind of contemplating how we want to break this last little piece down. And now dropping to a few frames per second, no big deal. We kind of understand the vibe still.
Yeah, very unfortunate that Minato was able to have a very, very clean start, putting on 7 lore, 8 to 7 lore on board, being able to remove Ed Singer. But the problem was that warded Prince Philip. He just wasn't able to remove it. And getting that Prince Philip combo off for Ed just shut down that amazing start that Minato had. And at that point, everything kind of just came falling down.
Yeah, everything just came together for Ed in that particular spot. So going into game number two, now that the cat is out of the bag, Minato knows what he's up against, and you know how maybe you could change your approach. But if you
Mhm.
were going to change your approach, what does Minato need to do in order to maybe even the score a bit here? Because you were on the draw, or excuse me, you were on the play that time, and it didn't work out for you. What are you trying to change here? What are you looking for in your alter phase to get a better response?
Honestly, I don't think wouldn't try to change anything. I think I try to have the same start that I just had in game one because you were able to have that strength of the raging fire. You put on these evasive characters on the board. You were able to recycle cards in your hand. You had different forms of removal. The thing was that Prince Philip. So I guess the only thing is just running it back, trying to get the same hand, and hopefully Ed doesn't have that ward Prince Philip because if that was any other singer on board, Minato pretty sure would have been able to just clear it the following turn.
I agree. I agree. But really quick, while they're still shuffling up, I will go ahead and pull the deck list up one more time so everyone at home can get a sneak peek if you guys tuned in late. This is the LCCC. This is round number one, of which there will be four rounds of Swiss, followed by a top four. They're going to prioritize EU versus NA, but sometimes it will not happen. There will be times where NA has play against NA and EU will have play against EU, but we're going to try to prioritize, especially in the first round, and then whatever happens after that happens after that. But here are the deck lists. Ed on a Emerald and Sapphire strategy, while Minato is playing Amethyst and Steel. Ed notably playing all four ofs. You'll be missing that Cinderella. She is not in the deck. Absolutely cut, removed from the strat. And I don't think he missed her at all there for a second.
Yeah, I don't think so either. What really had him again was that Prince Philip combo, just being able to remove all the threats that Minato had. I guess you could try to look for a Wind Dancer. I could see how this card paired with Cheshire Cat could punish a Clarabelle that's exerted. You're able to challenge that. That's probably the strongest character you have in this build that can, challenge that character because you're gonna have to 2-for-1 it, other than
Yeah.
going ElSa plus something else. So we'll see here if Minato can get the almost same opening as he had last game.
Or maybe some type of strength of rating fire lines that you can do and get enough characters on board. You got to get super wide, but the issue with going wide, even if you do go wide, you're going to get hit by the full combo, and then your whole thing's going to fall apart. So you have to be careful going wide, but not too wide, but wide enough to make your strength of raging fire have some type of value and get a 1-for-1 at a minimum. So you can't get neg too much, but at the same time, you can't keep your hand too healthy because Clarabelle will get you. So you playing, like you said, you nailed it, man. We're playing on a ton of different echelons here, a ton of different layers, and you have to just be super flexible and fluid and just adjust on the fly. And Ed is going to be kind of leading the dance here, and you're going to have to change the pace on your own to kind of gain your incremental advantages where you can, especially when you're not playing a card like Pete's Game Referee.
Another thing that we're looking out for if I'm Minato is I'm hoping that my opponent doesn't have a good turn three because they're always going to have a turn one, turn two. The rampage is always there. But what are they going to have on turn three? Is it going to be a Donald Duck? Is it going to be a small Clarabelle that leads to a shift Clarabelle? I think Minato is hoping that his opponent, Ed, opens up with a Donald just because it's a slower start. You're not threatening a, shift Clarabelle. You're welcome. So hopefully that's the, mindset that Minato has right now because at this point you need to place all your outs.
Yeah, I concur. But Ed is going to lead, making the interesting play, going to lead Clarabelle just to maybe put some pressure onto this Diablo who can sometimes go unchecked and quest super freely. So at least bring the Clarabelle out on turn number one on the draw. A lot of the, excuse me, Emerald and Emerald and Sapphire players typically would like to keep that around, but we are going to get a quest in with this Diablo, and I think Ed might be your Huckleberry here and take the trade. Would you take this trade here in this spot?
Yeah, I think you take this trade because if I'm not mistaken, Minato's character only has one willpower, so it's gonna have to trade into this Clarabelle. I mean, at this point, you're 2-for-1ing it, and Ed can just freely play that Clarabelle the following turn and draw a card if he, depending on how many cards he has the following turn. So I think you take this trade here.
Yeah, and I think Ed agrees as we are going to go ahead and use our develop our brain. We'll keep the Infernal Schemer and then we will go ahead and take out that Diablo after he gains one lore. So interesting little back and forth here. I like to look at the pluses and minuses in these games because that typically determines who's going to be the winner and the loser. But in that situation, you really didn't go neg because Diablo does replace itself. But that's an interesting development there, as you just got any piece of lore that you could, and you have those two Donald Duck perfect gentlemen's hanging out ready to be deployed and draw you both some cards.
Yeah, we do see here Minato play that Tinkerbell over the Dumbo, probably because, again, how you just mentioned, the Donald Duck might come down. He does take this trade here, so you're not feeling threatened by a shift right here or any type of your welcome threat. And if he does get this Donald Duck down, then Minato could also benefit from it. Now, the thing is here next turn is we might see that horseman wind dancer come down finally and put this Donald Duck into check. And it's gonna be awesome to see this card being played here in the first match of the LCC season 3.
I think you might have to, man. I'm a big fan of this Mayor Wind Dancer, man. I like his attitude. I like the artwork. I think it is just a ridiculous stat line. 5/7 is insane, and he's on the board right now. Like you said, the perfect plussing card. This guy is going to require two cards. More often than not, like very similar to Maui, Hero to All, how he would hit the board and just demand two cards in order to get a response. So I like the card. The fact that it's uninkable does kind of come up, and it's going to be the reason why a lot of players will tend to stay away from a card like Man Wind Dancer. But I think it is an absolute rock star, and he's probably going to be here for a while. As we got double Donald, and we are going to You're Welcome. We got to send the horse back to the deck probably. Look at that. You got two cards.
I think he's inking the You're Welcome.
Oh, inking You're Welcome.
Singing the Mother Knows Best. Yeah.
I was about to say, oh my goodness.
What do you think of Ed's hand right now? He does have that Hades from earlier, so we'll see if keeping that uninkable punishes him here. Because if he does draw another uninkable here, you might have to ink that Prince Philip. I don't see a world where he'll just pass and try to hold on to that Prince Philip. The thing here compared to last game though is that Minato, this is the start that you wanted from your opponent, but we didn't get that start that we wanted, to where we're pressuring like how we had that 7-8 lore here, and we're seeing a Mulan on 4 ink. That's, if I'm Ed, I'm happy to see that.
Oh, 100%. I agree with you 1,000%. But he does have 3 more draws next turn, and like we mentioned,
that's true.
He's only playing 8 uninkable cards, so it's very unlikely that you're going to draw 3. And you've already played Mother Knows Best. You got Hades, so you really have 5 uninkable cards left in your deck, and it's very unlikely you're going to draw 3 of those back to back. So he's all in, but he's really hedged himself, and that just comes back to deck building, man. Staying extremely consistent might be better than having better cards. I don't know. I have to look more into it, but the uninkable cards are obviously just going to be better just based on the nature of the game. But having the ability to draw 2, oh my goodness! So now you just completely drew yourself right on into everything you could ever want in this situation. You're not playing a card like Bending My Will, so these hand cards could get out of hand. But this is looking so good for Ed in this spot, as we'll just ink the Prince Philip and set up this Clarabelle immediately shift, and you get 2 more cards here. Gross. And you can sing it. Oh my goodness, gross. Yuck. And send the horseman back to the deck again.
The horseman goes back to the hand, goes back to the stable. And we do see here how Ed is just really benefiting off. Like, this is what I really like about Emerald Sapphire. When you get to play a card like Donald Duck or cards that benefit your opponent, but you also benefit from it too, it just makes it seem like useless. And now Minato here has to answer these 2 Donald Ducks and also that Clarabelle. So at this point, Ed's already gone through 15, 20 cards. He's going to have a range of different removal tools that he could use. And we'll see here how Minato can answer back.
Yeah, this is looking not the greatest for Minato in this particular situation. Not gonna lie, as this Clarabelle is fully realized and established. Oh, and by the way, every turn you're drawing 3 cards too. That comes up, and you have a ton of songs in your hand that could just really delay your tempo. Amethyst Steel is a cool deck, but it does kind of play to the curve, so you can only really play, especially in Minato's version here, you're only playing maybe 1, maybe 2 cards a turn, and you're not going to be able to deplete your hand fast enough in order to play around the Clarabelle. Whereas Ed, you can see, you have the ability to sing a ton of songs, just really deplete your hand, and then get more value from Clarabelle, and it's just going to be much more powerful plays that you can make.
Yeah, it's unfortunate with a card like Hades how powerful it is in certain matchups, but in this matchup, Ed's gonna be like, sure, draw your cards because my Clarabelle is gonna be able to refill my hand. And
Yeah.
here with the options that Minato has, it looks like that horse might be coming down a third time in this match. He's thinking about it. I think here you're gonna have to try to put two characters out on the board. I think Minato's going to 5 to 6 ink, and with the characters in his hand, I just don't think he can pull that off.
Yeah. As sad as it sounds, I mean, going maybe you can go for the genie here, unless you're gonna go for the
Hard cast.
the high, just straight hard play. He hurled his thunderbolt just to get one of those Donald Ducks off the board. So you have just 2 for 1 yourself in that situation. But I understand you do what you must be done from time to time, as you are kind of getting up in lore. I think getting up to 7. Maybe there's a world you can kind of run this race, but I think you're just too far away from victory. And I don't think you're playing the giant cobra either in your deck.
Yeah,
And
I was about to mention if not even playing the giant cobra is definitely an interesting take. Again, this build amethyst steel that Minato decided to run, I could see it being way more dominant in the mirror match just because your mid game is just way stronger with your beefy characters. But
mhm.
against a control deck, they're just gonna out control you pretty much.
Yeah, this is and that's kind of been very typical of our metagame with our deck style archetypes that we have with aggro versus mid range versus control, control versus aggro. The whole triangle, it still does happen in deck building and design. Like you said, if this deck was built a bit more aggressive with those kind of burn options there, it would be a little bit more favorable. But this one just seems like there's not a lot you can do. You're putting down this horseman again, and you look in Ed's hand. He's got another Mother Nose Best. We have another Hades. We are just one card away from the combo as well. He's got answers on top of more answers, and it's just not a lot that you can get done here. As Lexington is going to find his way to the board as well.
Yeah, he could ink a card here and get three bodies out on the board, which is pretty solid. But opting out to just ink that hook, I don't think you can afford to ink the ElSa or the Hades because you want to be able to refill your hand. And now Ed here, how you mentioned, does have access to all these different removal tools. He's going to be able to draw two cards next turn. If he does draw the Prince Philip combo, I don't see why not he wouldn't just play it this turn.
Yeah, and we got visions too. So just more dig, more search. Just options aplenty coming in from the DLC champion. We'll like to just add another 3/6 to the board while sending the horseman down into the inkwell. And then we can Mother Knows Best, send the Lexington back to the hand, and then we're questing for 4. So Ed is all the way up to 10 now on the lore total, and it's just really putting a lot of pressure on. You're pressuring 8 more with no board. I think this one just might be cooked unless there is some type of miracle. Minato's going to need a Hail Mary here. If you could throw it up, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what you can even do to get out of this
Yeah, I
spot.
think Ed's internet would have to crash. Something like that. It's very unfortunate that Ed gets to draw a card there at the end as well, which is just crazy. It definitely shows how powerful the Sapphire Emerald is. Do you think, like, just off the rip already, right? Is this deck more powerful than how Blurple was last set?
I don't think so. I think Blurple last set was just too much. This deck does have, I mean, as crazy as I might sound like a psycho. This deck does have counters. Like you can counter this deck. There
Hmm.
are ways that you can play against this deck. There are things you can do. I think you have to maybe in the mirror. You have Webby, you have Ursula, you can build to beat this deck. I believe. But where Blurple, you could be able to beat that too, but it just wasn't nearly as Blurple was just doing their thing way too consistently.
Yeah,
But
true.
granted, up until this point, I haven't seen a build like Ed's just yet. And I think with this LCCC being so popular, this is going to now be out in the ethers, and people are going to have access to this information, and they're going to be using this. And I think this might become because he's exceeding my expectations with what this deck could be. It just seems way more powerful and super streamlined and just optimized to the max. As Hades looking for the deal, saddest deal you can ever make right there.
This is just a deal that he's just not going to take because he has five characters on the board looking like Sapphire Steel, but just does it way more better with all these big characters on the
Yeah.
board. And we do see Ed take it 2-0, first round going to, or first match, I should say, going to NA.
GG's to Mr. Edmund Chiu getting it done, coming out early and supporting the LCCC as that match was a swift and decisive one. I was in the Discord earlier. I don't know if Minato is going to be able to communicate. I know there's a French language barrier there, but we do have Ed here, and we'll try to see if we can get maybe we can get a translator or something. I don't know if we can coordinate that in the future, but I would really love to hear what Minato has to say and hear their thoughts as well. But I know there is a language barrier, so I will apologize for that right now, as Ed he was cammed up there for a minute. Maybe we can get Ed to come back here on cam. I'm hopping in. Let's hop into the Discord and let's unmute ourselves and see what these Illuminators have to say.
We're in the building.
Yo, we out here. Yo.
What's good?
Yo, we out here. So, Rip, I need you to mute yourself in the video really quick.
Sounds good.
And then, Ed, congratulations on your victory, coming on through, getting it done. Where'd that camera go, man? I just saw your face. You were nice and in here. I don't see you. I can't see you.
Oh, I'm in the LCC live thing. That's why.
Oh, let me pull you up. Let's cook. Let me cook. All right, hold up. Let me see this, man. And I see Minato is there as well. Cool. Okay, so just give me a sec. Give me a sec. Okay.
Awesome game, guys. Awesome game.
All right, gentlemen. Let's pop out, everyone. We're doing this live, folks. So please, just bear with me. Okay, we did not prepare to do this. I just want to see. I see beautiful faces, and I want to check them out. So just give me 1 second. Grid view, and there it is. Sailor's here.
Yo, what's up?
what's Sailor doing here? I love it.
I'm translating for our buddy.
Let's go. Okay. Sorry, gang. You guys gotta let me fix everything for just a brief moment. While we do that, if you want to start the interview, we'll start it with Rip Lungs. We saw that game; it was a phenomenal game. We'll start with you, Ed. Congratulations on your victory. Can you just go over your deck decision making really quick? You made a hyper consistent deck, but you left off some cards that we thought were just crucial cards. So, just talk about that really quick while I set this up.
Yeah. I thought this was closed decklist. I was like, wait a minute. Because that's what we were told. So I didn't play Spooky or Under the Sea because of that reason. If it was open decklist, I would at least probably play 1 or 2 copies of those cards. But I think you're supposed to respect those cards in a closed decklist format. So that's why I didn't play them. And I really like the power of like Mother Knows Best in order to like recycle Prince Phillips, recycle Hades. I think I did that like in this game. I thought that was really powerful. And I realized there's also a bunch of kind of, we call them secret uninkables, right? Like the big Prince Philip, you really don't want to ink him. And I realized like when I played stuff like Cindy and like Spooky, Under the Sea, I actually like kind of clogged up my inking decisions a lot. So I didn't really want to like add those cards to my deck. So I tried to keep it like kind of low uninkables in order to not have to ink my Prince Phillips when I need them for the combo.
Okay, and it worked out super nice. Like I said, getting all the way down to 8 uninkable cards in your deck, I think is just a really, really cool thing to see, and you got it done. So I know, have you been playing a lot in this set, and what do you think about this format overall, and also what do you think about Emerald and Sapphire? Do you think that is the best deck that we have here?
I mean, in terms of like meta, I think the Emerald Sapphire deck has the best matchup into like all the Amethyst decks, because most of the time they're kind of like trying to curve out, right? And if you're able to do the Prince Philip combo, you basically win the game. Like in those 2 games, once I play Prince Philip, it's extremely hard to come back, right? And I think the thing with like Clarabelle is you also want to keep your hand size low. So it's kind of like you're put in a hard spot, right? Like you have to dump your hand to not like let your opponent draw a bunch of cards. But if you dump your hand, then you're gonna get hit by the Prince Philip. So I thought that was like the Clarabelle type decks are the most kind of enticing decks to me. And I wanted to pair it with Sapphire because that color basically has the best like filter in the game, right? Develop your brain, visions. You're also able to like Clarabelle turn quicker with like the Tipo and the Sail, and then you have the top end with the Hades. So I thought that made sense to me. I played a little bit of the other like kind of curve out decks like Ruby Amethyst and Amethyst Steel. But I felt like curve out decks, the issue is like sometimes you kind of just like run out of gas like really quickly, and you're kind of at the mercy of your deck. I feel like, I mean, yes, of course, Emerald Sapphire is very similar, but I feel like even though you're like kind of low economy, you still have very strong blowout potential lines, like similar to Sisu of the past.
Yeah, and it was very it was on display there in that last game. And I got Rip here. We're gonna bring you in, Rip, but I want to bring in Minato first. I know Minato there is a language, and we have Sailor here. Shout out to Sailor. Can we hear Sailor?
It's okay.
Bonjour. We'll say bonjour. Bonjour.
Bonjour. Yes.
And I wanna thank you for playing as well. You loaded Amethyst Steel in this event.
Yeah.
The matchup is very hard for you to win here, but I love the way that your deck is built. In testing, can you just talk about some of the matchups that you would much prefer, and why did you construct your deck this way?
Je peux
Tu peux me
répondre en
dire,
français.
Céline? Ouais, je te parle français, donc tu peux me redire ce qu'il a dit un petit peu?
Ouais, il te demandait, dans le fond, il aimait beaucoup ton deck.
Oui.
Comment tu l'avais bâti, tout ça. Il dit ça avait pas l'air d'un match-up facile, mais comment est-ce que builder ton deck, c'est quoi les idées derrière et tout ça?
Alors les idées derrière, c'est un peu de contrer le bleu-vert, mais là, comment il l'a construit, c'est vraiment pour contrer le violet-gris. C'est-à-dire qu'il a pas de Cendrillon, il a 4 n'écoute que moi, très peu de non ancrables. Et du coup, j'ai l'impression qu'il a de quoi. Il a extrêmement bien construit son deck pour contrer le violet-gris. C'est-à-dire que vraiment, tout ce que je pouvais faire, il avait des réponses dessus et je pouvais tous les tours, il pouvait me piéger en fait. Il avait tout ce qu'il fallait pour me piéger tout le temps. Alors que moi, le deck, j'ai essayé de le construire pour battre bleu-vert justement et un peu bleu-gris avec des gros body pour battre aussi les bleus-violets et les violets-gris en miroir surtout. Et en fait, le bleu-vert, normalement, ça passait aussi, mais vu le build de Ed, c'est beaucoup plus difficile à battre. Comme ça.
So Minato says he actually built the deck to try to be to have like a great matchup into green blue, but the way that Ed built it is that he had more of hard to interact with shift targets. Right, like the 3-cost Prince Philip is really good into that matchup because he doesn't have the removal for that. So the fact that he ran away from Cinderella made it harder. He also had like answers every time to and really put traps for Minato all the time, where he couldn't really commit to one or the other. And obviously the deck with a bit of a higher curve was also trying to be good in the mirror, as well as being good into like a grindier matchup like Blue Steel and Blurple.
Yeah, and I can tell that. I think that is a very fair point. We both made those observations when the deck was being built, but we enjoyed seeing it a lot. Unfortunately, it didn't work out this time. But can you just give some thoughts before we kick it back to Ed? Can you just give us some thoughts on the Mayor Wind Dancer? Is that a card you've had good success with? I like it. What do you think about the Mayor Wind Dancer card?
Il veut t'entendre parler du maire Zootopia, savoir si c'est une carte qui fonctionne bien pour toi et qu'est-ce que tu en penses en général?
Ouais, la carte mère fonctionne très bien justement contre le miroir parce qu'il y a beaucoup de violets-gris qui sont représentés au moins à 35% et le maire vient bien aider contre ce match-up. C'est aussi bien contre les bleus-verts et les bleus-gris en fait qui ne jouent pas de n'écoute que moi dans un autre beast. Donc du coup, il reste alors que là, il pouvait me le gérer très facilement avec le n'écoute que moi. C'était très problématique parce que ça permet d'aller gérer les grosses créatures tout en gardant des points de dégâts sur lui pour trigger le chat du Cheshire. Du coup, ça aide pas mal, mais là, il avait tous les n'écoute que moi x4, c'est horrible pour le deck, quoi. C'est-à-dire que le Maillard, j'ai essayé de le jouer, il restait jamais pour pouvoir trade quoi que ce soit. Et c'est aussi les petits Prince Philippe qui font que c'est dur, parce que les bleus-verts veulent pas du tout jouer le petit Prince Philippe, et c'est une bonne idée, je trouve, pour contrer le violet-gris aussi.
So he says like it's a very, very great card into the other matchups, but it's specifically bad versus Modern Knows Best, which is a card that was not seeing too much play in the green-blue list that he already saw. And I agree. If I can say something like
please.
Modern Knows Best absolutely take a lot of the power of that card, and also the fact that the Genie is also uninkable, so like both of those 4 drops have a big liability against Modern Knows Best. So yeah, it was definitely not the great showing for the card there in versus specifically what Ed brought to the table, but yeah, he thinks like it's fairly good into the rest.
Absolutely. And before Rip, I know I got you here. I got Rip Lungs here as well. Rip, do you have any questions before we kick it back over to Ed, and then we can start to kind of wind it down a little bit? But any questions you have for any of these players? I know I hogged these interviews. Feel free to jump on in there.
Yeah, I got one question just for each player. So I'll start off with Ed. Ed, great showing. You did get to show how powerful Emerald Sapphire was. Definitely looks like Ruby Sapphire back in the day, having all these forms of removal cards. And what I want to ask you is for everyone back home, how do you beat this deck? How do you beat Emerald Sapphire? What deck should people be playing? Strategies to try to counter this powerful Prince Philip combo? And do you think people should be running Pete and Steel decks? Because a lot of Emerald Sapphire's players say that, oh, Pete's not worth it. It's not really effective against this deck. Just answer the Prince Philip. But I think if we could, attack both points of the strategy where answer the Prince Philip and try to prevent it, just what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, we're in a kind of rock, paper, scissors format again, where like the aggressive strategies will probably be, the control strategies, like Emerald Sapphire is obviously like a control strategy. So, I mean, I think it's still pretty weak to Amber Steel, for example, even if you run the Spookies, because there's actually quite a bit of refill now, right? And the Spooky makes it so like the Amber Steel player doesn't have to like ink as much anymore. So even though like Spooky came out, I still think that matchup is still like unfavored. So I think the rock paper scissors right now is like Emerald Sapphire can beat like the Amethyst decks, and then the Amethyst decks historically have been good into the aggro decks like Amber Steel, and then Amber Steel beats Emerald Sapphire.
Awesome, good point. And what are your thoughts on Pete? Do you think people should be playing
Pete?
Pete or?
Um, I mean, yeah, probably because a lot of the time it's you just need one turn, right? Like you go super wide with Amber Steel, you time a Pete, like well timed Pete, and you basically win the game. But I guess for them specifically, they also have like Mowgli, so they don't have to rely on it as much. But obviously, like a lot of the good players are, saving developer, visions for the Mowgli specifically. But I mean, if they do that, then like they're also kind of choked on resources, right? So I think Pete is still like pretty good if you can time it properly. I think it's still required in Amber Steel, especially if Steel mirrors. Sometimes it comes down to like you're on the draw, you play Pete to stun your opponent out of Strength of the Raging Fire. I think that's still like somewhat important. So I think Pete is still like quite important in this format.
Awesome, good points. And my one question for Minato is, congrats on his DLC win in Europe and Bologna. How come? What happened to Blurple? Does he think that Blurple isn't as strong anymore this set? And does he think that Blurple has some legs this format?
Alors, Minato,
Oui.
première chose, c'est que il te demande, il te dit félicitations pour ta victoire au DLC de Bologna. Il te demande où est Blurple. Est-ce que Blurple, il y a des avenues pour le deck dans cette méta?
Oui, je pense qu'il y a des possibilités dans le Blurple dans cette méta avec les démonas qu'il y a, avec le livre aussi de démonas. Il y a eu un CCQ à Barcelone ce week-end où un Français a perfait avec un deck similaire il était dans le top, mais ça a bien marché. Et il y a aussi Ying qui a gagné le CCQ de Prague avec une bonne liste aussi. Donc il y a plein de possibilités pour le Blurple. J'avais envie d'essayer de jouer autre chose pour ce set-là. J'avais envie de jouer violet gris pour voir. Il me semblait assez fort. Et pour moi, au-dessus de Blurple. Donc du coup, c'est pour ça que je suis opté pour ce deck-là. Pour l'instant.
So Minato says there's definitely some promises for Blurple. He mentions the Book of Demona particularly as something that is worth exploring. And also some French player did really well last weekend with it. And Ying actually won the event in Praha. Yeah, he says he wanted to diversify a little bit and try a different deck this set, or at least for this event.
Awesome. Thank you guys for answering the questions.
Nice. And I want to thank you guys both for your participation in the LCCC. It's a very important thing in our community, and you guys sacrificing your time to be here. It's always going to be something that we really appreciate as a broadcasting team, as a community, as everyone who's watching, because you guys really do set the pace. So as we begin to wrap this show up, I want to start with you, Minato. Say, if you want to let him know, hey, anything that he wants to say to the community that's watching, or anyone watching at home, any shout outs he wants to give, the floor is open for him to do so right now.
Minato, il t'offre la possibilité de faire un shout-out, remerciement ou quoi que ce soit que tu veux dire en fait.
Merci beaucoup pour l'invitation, en tout cas au LCCQ. Je sais que je parle pas très bien anglais et que ça aide pas, mais merci Sailor d'être là pour traduire, c'est très gentil. Et je suis honoré d'avoir été invité ici. Bon, un peu déçu de ce que j'ai fait là à cette partie. J'ai aussi pris un peu de mauvaises décisions, mais je suis quand même content de participer et ça montre le niveau aussi un peu à l'international qu'il y a. Donc je suis content de rentrer dedans. Je vois que j'ai encore beaucoup de travail à faire et ça va beaucoup m'aider. Ça va beaucoup m'aider à travailler. Et je remercie aussi surtout mon équipe expérience. Donc c'est une équipe française. On a pas mal d'équipes en France qui se forme. Je sais pas si c'est pareil aux États-Unis, mais voilà, c'est mon équipe qui m'aide beaucoup à jouer beaucoup et à m'améliorer, ainsi qu'à un partenaire, Willy Oufouf, qui est beaucoup là avec moi aussi pour travailler les decks.
So he wants to first thank the LCCC for the invite. Thank myself for the translation. He says, yeah, he was very honored, even though he doesn't really speak English all that well, to be able to be here. Obviously, a little bit disappointed about his first appearance, but very happy to be able to have this opportunity to play with international players, see the skill level outside of Europe also, help him grow as a player, and he wants to thank his team EXP experience.
Yes.
And yeah.
And Willy Oufouf,
and Wiluf also as one of his collaborators that he loves to work with.
Nice. Thank you so much, Minato, for your time. And now, Ed, we come to you, our winner. You won round number 1. You're playing a cool deck. Anything you want to say, the floor is yours. Pop off. Take your victory lap as shout-outs coming your way.
Yeah, I mean, shout out to World Class Cards, specifically Thiago for helping me playtest this matchup. Like, we were trying to guess what Minato was playing, and we guessed Amethyst Deal. So we ran a couple like matches last night, and it felt pretty good about the deck. And shout out SLTC and like the Tianhu gang, like my day ones. So thanks for all the support.
Right on. And thank you both. So, and also thank you, Sailor, for coming through with that clutch W translation. I think it's important to have everyone get a chance to at least say their part. And we want to know, even if we can't speak the same language, we all speak the same, we all play the same game. And I think that just brings us closer together. So I want to thank you, Sailor, for coming by and sacrificing some of your time to help provide that very, very much needed asset there. And we really do appreciate it, man. So gentlemen, all of you, I want to thank you all for your participation. And we're about to close this thing out, and we'll be prepared for the next round.
Good job.
Bye.
All right. And we will go. Bye. All right. So, create. I'll meet you back in the video, and we can close out the show from there. All right. Cool.
Let's get it.
Cool.
Oh man, that was something. That was a good way to start off the 2-0 first round first match for NA. Ed takes it down.
What a way, as 2-0 victory. So Ed comes through and delivers. Minato, he has some great things to say about his deck, and it just didn't work out. Maybe because Ed really metagamed this thing really hard. So here are the deck lists that both of these players played, and I want to thank you all for being out here watching and all the follows that we got and everything that happened. So stay tuned, keep it locked. There will be more. Actually, really quickly before I let you go, if you're still here, I'm gonna kind of go over some of the next matches that we have that are already in line to be played. Let me see if I can go over this super duper quick. We have tomorrow, so tomorrow TFM TFM Dan and Lucas Kaupo will be playing, and Aiden and Angelina will be playing tomorrow. So keep it locked. We don't know exactly which channel that's going to be on, but a lot of that information will come out. So if you want to follow the LCC, make sure you get into the Pixelborn Discord, follow the LCC, follow Pavel on Twitter. A lot of information going to be coming out there, and also just make sure you stay abreast to the various Discords and online. You can find out where all this information is going to be. But tomorrow we're going to have TFM Dan, and we're going to have Lucas Kaupa and Aiden versus Angelina are going to be 2 matches that take place tomorrow. Time will be coming out here soon. Actually, hold up, I have the times for both of them as well. Just give me a brief moment. I'm so sorry. Let me get my professionalism down. Angelina and Aiden will be playing November the 19th at 4 p.m. Eastern. So that's 4 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific. That's Angelina versus the Wonder Kid Aiden. That's going to be another great match. And then we will have TFM Dan versus Lucas Kaupa. That will be on November the 19th and at 12:30 p.m. So it'll be at 12:30 p.m. and then we'll go right into a 4 p.m. Eastern match, and it will be really, really cool. So TFM Dan versus Lucas, Aiden versus Angelina. Keep it locked. Don't touch that dial. It was a blast. Shout out to our judge, John, for holding it down, and also Phil was in the building, and Ellie and Pavel and everyone else. And Rip, shout out to you. Thank you for coming through. It was a great time.
Thank you. Just want to shout out to Pavel, shout out to the LCC staff, the judges, the players, for everyone, for you. And yeah, shout out to everyone back home for watching. You can follow me on social media at CreateTCG. I do have a Sapphire Steel video dropping today going over my top 8 finish at the 5K Dallas Expo. It's going to be super awesome. Broke down my list, showed the awesome pictures that we took, and I had an awesome time, man. I can't wait to run it back for the next game.
Right on. And put your link down in the chat really quick so people can find it, and make sure you give them a follow on YouTube, and we will support each other. So this was a really good time, my fellow Illumineers, and we will wrap this up. I'll be back at it again today, a little bit later this afternoon. It will be This Is Not a Podcast, episode number 14. So I'll see you guys all there. Until then, we're gonna find the raid and send this energy on over to someone. So you guys stick around as we will share the love of Disney Lorcana with someone today. Let's make their day. Hit the like button, follow them, and let's get it absolutely cracking. As it looks like we got it looks like Luke is coming up right now. So let's see what Luke is coming. Maybe he'll talk about this. He's going to be playing in the LCC as well. Maybe he can do some analysis and breakdown of what has happened today. So the raid is going in. Thank you guys all for being here. As always, I'm JDZ. I'm on a quest. Shout out to the real one. Salute to the OGs. I'll see you next time. Peace.
Shout out Betchy. Shout out Betchy.
Betchy out here getting loose.
He's out here. He's out here.
Let's go, Betchy. I see you, big dog.